What's up, everybody? Thanks again for stopping by for another edition of March 4th with Mike Bauman. I, of course, am your host, Mike Bauman. Whoever you are, wherever you are listening from, thank you so much for checking out the podcast. If you're a returning listener, I greatly appreciate your continued love and support. And if you're a brand new listener of the show, man, thank you so much for hopping aboard that pirate ship. You can follow me on Instagram at March 4th Pod. I am on YouTube at March 4th Pod. I'm also over there on the TikTok at March 4th Podcast. Hey, you know what? If you made it here, then that means you found me somehow. And I truly appreciate each and every one of you taking the time to check out another edition of the March 4th with Mike Bauman podcast. How is everybody doing, man? This is episode 168. It's crazy, and that is just of March 4th. That doesn't include the back catalog of the show back when it was Bauman's Breakdown, going all the way back to 2012. Your boy has been in a podcast game for a minute, well, in and out of it. But since I brought it back as March 4th in 2020, it's grown every year, and I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back. It is truly a testament to each and every one of you who check out the show, who like and subscribe, tell your friends about it. Share these conversations of perseverance and moving forward, people chasing their dreams. That's really all I'm trying to do, y'all, is just leave a positive ripple effect in the waters that I swim in my little corner of the world over here with March 4th. And it truly means a lot to see the show growing and reaching people in a positive way. I've met so many awesome people through doing this podcast. And I think that's what life is all about, man, just chasing what you love, having the courage to push through the fears and the self-doubt and those limiting self-beliefs. At least me, that's the journey I've been on like my whole life. And when you pursue who and what you love, man, there's usually beautiful things that come from it, even if they always don't turn out the way that you thought. When you have the courage to go down new paths, you run into new people and new opportunities, and this show has brought those things my way, and I'm truly grateful, man, for everybody who takes the time to put in their earbuds when they're going for a run, or when they're cranking through some spreadsheets at work, or on their drive anywhere, and listens to me. I really appreciate it, man. It truly means a lot, and I'm very humble and very grateful to be bringing y'all these episodes. 2025 is off to a great start. We've had some fun ones already. We got more fun ones on deck. And I'm just really excited, man. This is like my favorite time of the year. I probably say this every year if I go back and listen to like the last 3, 4 years of the show, which I'm not going to do because I don't like the sound of my own voice. I've gotten used to it, but I don't enjoy it. Isn't that weird? Like the first time you ever heard yourself on an answering machine, you're like, I sound like that? That's me? You're sure that that's me? And it's like, yeah, dude, that's what you sound like. Your voice is weird. You're like, all right, cool. Thanks, guys. Thanks for telling me. But this is my favorite time of the year. I'm a big basketball fan, as those of you who listen to the show religiously know. I also enjoy hockey. Big Red Wings fan. I stay more up on the basketball because it's my favorite sport. So it's been a great year for the Pistons, and it's been an awesome run for them so far this year. I hope they can keep it up and lock in a playoff spot right now. As this is hitting y'all's eardrums, I think they're the 6th seed. We've got a few weeks left in the NBA regular season. Hockey playoffs are coming up. Ovechkin's chasing down Gretzky's record. It's March Madness time. Baseball's getting ready to start. It's a beautiful time of the year with spring and finally getting out of the cold, gray winter months, and I'm looking forward to all of it, man. There's just a lot of rebirth and like new energy that comes with the spring, and I'm excited for all of it. I feel like I've been, sniffling like this for like 5 months, but it's cool, man. Have a new nephew, which I told y'all about. He's been in the world now. Like I don't even know if it's been 3 weeks. And it's just a beautiful thing, man. Life is beautiful. So definitely try to find the good in the world, y'all, because it's all around you. And I am incredibly grateful for all of you, for my close family, for my friends, for my beloved Pishkins. I'm feeling pretty good right now as I bring y'all this show, man. And it's wild to even say episode 168. But it's here, man, and let's just get right into it. As I've been sitting here ranting and talking about meeting good people and, people who have come into my world through this podcast. This week's guest is a return guest to the show. It's always awesome when people want to come back. The first time I got in touch with this dude was, gosh, almost 2 years ago. It's wild how time flies. He is none other than Arc of the band Set the Sun. If you love modern metal, modern rock, alternative rock, these guys are in your wheelhouse. If you like cinematic elements in your music, they are definitely in your wheelhouse. And I first got in touch with Arc and Eris, the other half of Set the Sun, back in 2023 when their single "The Truth" with Clint Lowery came out. And Clint is like one of my favorite guitarists ever, one of my favorite musicians, and the three of us geeked out about Sevendust and Clint, and it was awesome. And obviously, talked about the collective, as Set the Sun calls it, with the collaborators that they work with for their music. And it was a really great conversation. And Ark and I have stayed in touch over the years, and I've followed their journey as they came out with their full length debut album a few months after we spoke. At War came out in November of 2023, and I've just continued to follow their journey, man. And so when they released their single "Falling Apart," which just came out in February with Ryan Clark, they teamed up with him. You may know him from his work with Demon Hunter. They're awesome, and he also works with other artists like Set the Sun and does a lot of awesome graphic design work. I digress, but when "Falling Apart" came out, man, and I heard that song and I heard, both Ark's vocals and, Ryan's vocals, and the music video was sick. I loved it, man, and I've loved everything this band has done, but I was like, "I gotta get Set the Sun back on here, man." So I hit up Ark, and, we only got him this time, we didn't get Eris, but it was great to connect with Ark again as they've got new music on deck, in addition to "Falling Apart," as you guys will hear in this conversation. The meaning behind "Falling Apart" is a really powerful song. The lyrics, the music video was a great visual of what the song means lyrically. And this isn't the first time they've worked with Ryan Clark from Demon Hunter. You guys might know Set the Sun and Ryan Clark from their work together back when they did Invisible a couple of years ago. And so this is the first time they've worked together, man. And listen to that one after you listen to the podcast, though. Okay, listen to this first. Uh, but just good people all the way around, man. At the time we did this, the single was already picking up steam. And at the time this is hitting y'all's ears, man, the YouTube music video on YouTube's already got over 112,000 views. I have Spotify as far as streaming music, and the single has got nearly 260,000, excuse me, nearly 260,000 streams on Spotify alone, "Falling Apart." So, and it's only been out like not even a month and a half, basically. So, it's awesome, man. Set the Sun, they're great guys. They make awesome music. So does Demon Hunter and Ryan Clark. And it was really cool to just get Arc back on here and catch up and talk all things "Falling Apart" and Demon Hunter and Set the Sun, and maybe a little bit of some sprinklings of what Set the Sun's got coming in 2025. So without further ado, I'm going to shut my big yapper and give you guys my conversation with Arc of Set the Sun. Here it is. Alrighty, well there we go. Arc, thank you so much, man, for taking the time to do this again. It's great to catch up with you. It's wild, like we were kind of talking before the jump. The first time I got in touch with y'all was almost 2 years ago now. It was the summer of 2023, and you guys have put out a lot of music since then. So thanks for making time to come back on, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and it's always great to talk to you. We've been we've been really busy since the last time we spoke. We've put out our debut record, which I believe we've had about 5 or 6 singles off of it, maybe five, I don't know, something like that. And it really was well received, I think. I think the goal with it was to, part of our development as a band and to grow our fan base online and get our music out there and kind of showcase the sound that we're going for. And yeah, then we've really crossed a lot of milestones, or hit a lot of milestones that we are didn't think we'd reach as quickly as we did. So we are happy about that. And um, it's hard to measure progress and success these days because there's so many metrics, so many numbers, and different things you can do now to promote your music. But everything's been growing, and we've been getting amazing support, and we love our supporters and everything they're doing to share the music. So yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, and this most recent one was really awesome. I loved At War, by the way, and I'm not just saying that because you were kind enough to come on. I listened to the album in its entirety again recently, and it's sick,
That's it.
man. I think the first time you were on, we talked about I think The Truth had just come out with Clint Lowery, and we geeked out about Sevendust. And anytime I get anybody's ears about Sevendust, I can talk Sevendust all day. And he's been kind enough not to name drop to come on the show before and talk to me about his journey with Sevendust and his sobriety and awesome, like salt of the earth dude.
Hmm.
Especially
Yeah,
I
one of
think,
our yeah. Yeah, he's one of our favorite collaborators we've had in a while. I mean, our whole band, kind of the mission. Well, part of our mission is to collaborate, and we have this kind of collective. We call it the collective, and it's a group of talented artists, musicians, um, and songwriters that we feel like help us bring the song to the next level in a sense. Because like when you get deep into writing music, writing a song, creating a song, you only have your ears to trust. And sometimes if you're like, yeah, I think this is great, but what if I had the ears of someone who I really trust, artistically, to give their little perspective, their magic sauce, or whatever you want to call it, that sprinkle of whatever it is, to take it even further, like to the next level, make it even greater. And I think that can only be achieved, obviously, if you put your ego aside and you're like, I'm not the only one who knows what greatness is and what great songwriting is. And oh, we're really all about the song. For us, it's the song comes first. Um, that's really what's important to us. So everything else is secondary. But yeah,
yeah, and as we're talking, we're this will be hitting people's ears in March, but I think we're about a week and a half out from when you guys just dropped Falling Apart with Demon Hunter, and this isn't the first time you guys have worked with them. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but Invisible was that the debut EP, In
yeah,
Absentia Volume 1?
yes, that was technically the one of the first originals we ever put out. And we've been fans of Demon Hunter since we were younger. And I think when we when we started doing Set the Sun, we we wanted a lot of these, our heroes, essentially, to not, well, to be part of it, and in some way, shape, or form. And having being able to collaborate with Clint was the start of that process. And he was one of our most frequent collaborators on At War. And I believe he also worked on some songs off that first EP with us as a writer. Um, and Ryan Clark was always, for me as a singer, one of my favorite voices in, I'd say, metal. I call them metal just because they kind of have this traditional metal sound. If you listen to, especially if you listen to their earlier records, um, Summer of Darkness was the first record that I had um, heard of theirs, and I instantly fell in love with his voice and the music, just the sound as a whole. So for us to have been able to bring him on Invisible was a dream come true. And uh, after I think not too long after we wrote Invisible and he guested on that, we we loved how it turned out. We loved working with him so much. We asked him if he would be down to write some more songs together, at least write. We'd just done a song with him, and we were like, hey, like we were just on a high. This is exciting. Can we do, can we get back in and write some more? And he was down. So we wrote a few, and One of the ones that stood out was one called Falling Apart. We wrote that, and I remember as soon as he sent back a mix with his vocal on it, I just got the chills, and I was just like, man, this is like one of the best songs that I think I've ever written. It felt, as a writer, you feel that every time you write a song you really like, you're like, oh, this is the best song. And then the next song is like, no, this is the best song. But that was at the time, I was just so blown away. And I'm like, am I? And I showed it to Eris, and he was also blown away. And then I hit back Ryan, and I'm like, dude, like, am I crazy? Like, is this not a great song? Like, do we have something special here? And he completely agreed. And then with him agreeing, I was like, okay, we have something special here. Um, so after that happened, we were kind of in that kind of happened actually during the process of releasing the debut record at War. So we had really no room to put out new. We weren't in the process of putting out new music or thinking about it. So we basically had to table it or just shelf it for the moment. And we were thinking, okay, when we put out new music, we're going to come back to Falling Apart. But time went by, putting out the record. I think a lot of time went by since I don't remember how long it took, but it was like at least a year till I even circle back and then listen to it again. Because as a songwriter, you write a lot of songs and then you're putting out songs. And I was doing remixes. We were doing remixes of some of the singles because we were doing these kind of reanimation kind of vibe versions of songs because we really love how Linkin Park did that with I think after they did the Meteora record, I believe. They did that reanimation record, which was just a crazy remix of a bunch of stuff. And I was really inspired by that. So we're like, well, let's do some of that with our songs so we keep it spicy, keep it interesting um while people are listening to the singles and while we're kind of before we put out the record. And but yeah, back to so Falling Apart, let me finish that. So um I came back. So yeah, after like about a year, I went back and listened to Falling Apart, and I was like, man, like we need to do something with the song. And I was talking to Eris about it, and I kind of had an idea about approaching Ryan and Demon Hunter and asking them, hey, what, like, I know we did a song together, but Ryan Clark joining Set the Sun. But I said, this song is so great. Like, we don't want, I feel like it won't do it justice if we just put it out. I think what we really loved about it was the combination of myself and Ryan doing it. And I'm like, I don't want to do another Ryan and Set the Sun thing. Like, we really want this song to reach a lot of people. The message was strong as well. So we were like, we kind of agreed that the best way to do it would to be just do a joint release and do it Set the Sun and Demon Hunter. That way we reach as many ears as we can. And that's the goal with music. You want to reach people. We're not doing it just for us. Of course, it starts just for you. But then after you have something that you think is great, or if you have something that you think that can help people, change lives, inspire others, you want it to reach people. So that was part of it. We were just like, you know what, let's try to get this to as many ears as we can. And so we got together, finished it, had it mixed, and just in the meantime, while they're working on other stuff, we were working on, starting to work on a what's it called? It's the second album called Sophomore.
Yes, sophomore release.
Sophomore sophomore release. Yeah. Um yeah, while we're working on our next record, which we can talk about after too, we were like, this is the perfect kind of uh middle piece or segue to that maybe. And we put it together, came up with a plan, and then shot a video for it as well, which Ryan directed and edited incredibly well. Um, and yeah, it's been going real well. There's an overwhelmingly positive response to it. It seems people are really taking to it, and that's all we could ask for.
Yeah, I think it turned out awesome, man. I've listened to it a few times now, and And even watching the music video and like reading some of the comments, which I know is kind of a dangerous thing to do sometimes sometimes with the
Yeah, we
internet.
try to stay away from it, but you can't. You don't want to, but you do.
And like you said, it's overwhelmingly positive. This will
Yeah,
be hitting people's ears in March, like we talked about, but it's
yeah, yeah.
mid-February as you and I are chatting right now, Arc, and there's after just like a little over a week and a half, there's almost 70,000 views on the music video. There's like 600 comments, and just reading some of them, people talking about the song and the lyrics and how it hit them, and Demon Hunter, and it is a cool, and what I like is the video really, I feel like, is like it very well mimics the meaning of the song, with like this gal kind of trying to get to the surface of the water. And if I believe she does at the end, not, spoiler for anybody watching it, but it's
Yeah.
it's this really cool, because the lyrics, are talking about like it opens up with, found my way into the void, let delusion come along, now I barely know myself among the dark. And then by the time like your verse comes in, like I was live enough to breathe, though my feet were on the ground, then desertion came along and tore it all away. So it's kind of basically like it almost seems like a struggle with sort of just like life and coming to grips with things, but in the end it's like let me fall to live again. And it's so anyway, it was a really cool, um it was almost like an art piece, man, like watching the music video in conjunction with like kind of digging deep into the lyrics, because I'm kind of a nerd like that. I remember the days back with the CDs where you get the album booklet out and you put it on your Walkman, and you would read the lyrics as you're listening to it. So I thought it was really cool how the video, to me anyway, was a really good like mimic and visual lyrically of what's going on in the song.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, I think that was the goal. It was something, we, there's only so much you can get out of a performance video, and so like adding some of that art in there and that imagery um to tell the story, it definitely helps paint the picture in a more literal sense. And we, you know, the that kind of feeling is what the song is about. It's like a breakdown, it's like you almost, it's like you're drowning, right? So that feeling, that's the literal kind of, feeling. It's all literal, but either way, that's kind of what we wanted to capture with that those visuals. And yeah, Ryan did a great job at doing that. And I think he had a lot of the vision for that and for the album artwork as well, actually. He's actually very well known for designing some incredible album art for major bands. I think he's done stuff for Sevendust. He's done some Under Oath, and I want to say just a lot of big, beautiful album covers for some big bands. And um, beyond, he's just such a talented dude. Like from being a incredible songwriter, vocalist, musician, graphic designer. you know, I don't know what he can't do. Anyway, um, God bless him.
Well, both of y'all have awesome voices, man. And again, I'm not just saying that to like butter your bread because you're kind enough to come on here, but it's
You got
listening
that
to,
you got that check I sent you, right? You got the money I sent. Okay, good.
I
I
haven't
think.
cashed it yet. Um,
Okay, good.
but yeah, no, like you're really hitting the high notes on this one, man. How and not that you haven't done that before, but I really feel like it, like the interplay of your vocals on this with Ryan's, it came out really well. Like how fun is it for you to get to like go up to that upper register?
Well, yeah, that's pretty much to the top of my range. Songs in F. So F is usually when you're going like for the big, big notes at the top of F. That's really high for me. Maybe there's some singers out there that can go way higher, but it is, especially if I'm putting in any kind of intensity or um, vocal fry kind of in my voice, like trying to do a Chester scream it or scream sing it. It's it that's like pretty much as high as it goes before my ears start ringing and I can't even hear what I'm saying. But yeah, no, it was really fun. I think a lot of that, the excitement doing that kind of stuff comes from also my love for Chester Bennington, and he was probably the biggest inspiration for me as a singer in this genre. You know, like I think he can. It's hard to find, you know, in my. It's obviously my opinion. Like everybody's probably like, no, or you're wrong. Like everybody's got their opinions on it. It's very subjective, but I you know, for me, he's kind of like that's the top, and then and so like, you know, getting to try to do that kind of vocal style, or like trying to go, you know, hit those really big notes that are really powerful, where you're like just laying it all on the line. That's kind of what he you know how he sings is a lot of those hooks that they've done, and those are like a lot of my favorites. So when I sing that kind of stuff, that's kind of what I'm kind of in trying to do in my mind, and like trying to convey that like this is like I'm desperate. This is like this is as emotional as I can be, and like really try to show that emotion in your voice by giving it all. When you hold back, you don't give everything, and you don't, you're kind of like not wearing your heart on your sleeve in a sense. You're kind of hiding a bit, and just losing control a bit, just letting it out there. That's when you really, I feel like you touch people more, um, and it hits harder. So that's what I was trying to achieve. I really appreciate the kind words. You know, like, um, you know, I don't, yeah, I don't really hit those notes in a lot of our stuff because sometimes it's the key of the song is not in a place where I would go that high or need to go that high. I also am not like a Carrie Underwood of country of metal or rock, where like I'm gonna go for those mega, you know, belty note, you know, big notes, and or do the Celine Dion, you know, like the big note. But this song called for it, and just where it was sitting in my vocal range and in Ryan's vocal range, and I was like, it needs that edge and it needs that like intensity level in the chorus especially, and it did it in the outro too. The outro was equally as up and high, I believe, as the chorus. Um, Not maybe every note, but there was it was in a similar area. Good
Was that
question.
you doing the keys at the end of it too?
Yeah, um I do all the keys slash guitar, um string instruments is basically my thing. And then synthesizers and stuff. Yeah. That's kind of my main role, and obviously vocals, but those are kind of the roles I do in most of our songs, and this song as well. Um, yeah, it was a lot of fun to put it together because it kind of just came together pretty organically, just very naturally. Piece by piece of the song just kind of flowed. There was not there wasn't like a game plan really. It just was like this feels right, then this piece coming after that feels, you know, also feels right. And it was just kind of a puzzle, and you put it together and you're like, oh, you listen at the end, and if it sounds like, hey, this actually is satisfying the way that it's structured, leave it be. And a lot of times like you can really mess your song up or like get frustrated with it because you can keep jumbling it around like a Rubik's cube, and like, okay, let's change the pattern, change. And then you've got like then you might have something you don't even like at the end. So like I'm a very gut oriented, like first instinct kind of guy. Not to say that this song was written that way, but I've noticed a lot of times like my initial instincts are the ones that last, and they're the ones that everybody likes at the end. So you learn to trust those instincts more and more when that happens. And I think anybody who second guesses all the time is because they don't have that valid. I think a lot of they lose that they don't have a validation process where their instincts are proven right all the time. I'm not trying to say that Arc is always right, but it's more to say that, you know, when you got to trust your gut sometimes, and in the case of this song was kind of just came together like that.
Well, and another thing I was gonna say, thanks again so much, Art, for taking the time, dude. It's
Yeah.
always great talking with you, but and I won't keep you too much longer because I you got a life to live, brother. But and I'm appreciative of the time, especially being under the weather. But I kind of like the end too because I felt like in the context of an album, and again, I don't want to like let the cat out the bag before y'all are ready to tease what's on deck for Set the Sun for 2025. But the keys at the end felt like it could be the beginning of another song and in like an album structure, which I thought was interesting.
Well, yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting you say that because we are in the process of putting together songs and material in general for a follow-up record. So um, this this song is definitely in the right vein. I will say if I say anything, I'll say that. The rest will be kind of a mystery, and we'll leave it up to your imagination. Um, but we'll yeah, we have a lot of songs, um, and we're working on more. There'll be some really cool collaborations, probably. That because that's kind of our part of our kind of our shtick, if you will. But we want to, yeah, we have just a lot of material we want to get out there, and I don't have a I don't have a dead like a timeline for it, like nothing's set in stone. But hopefully we will have something more complete before like by the end of this year, before like by the end of 2025. Not to say we won't have new music out before then, but as far as announcing a new record, we want to wait till we have the whole thing kind of in place, but we may drop some songs from the record as singles before, um to fill the gap because we don't want we tend to leave a lot of space with without dropping songs here and there, and it's not really our preference. We'd love to put we have lots of songs, and so we do want to put songs out all the time, but strategy is important, and we also don't want to put out a couple songs and then nothing for a long time, and then a couple more and then nothing for a long, and then prolong the album release. We definitely like to have albums and like bodies of work that are cohesive. So we'll try to kind of plan it so that we can put some songs out, and then not too far out we'll have a record. Yeah, that's the game plan, and we're hoping to include this song on that new record if it all works out as well.
Hell yeah, man. And another thing I wanted to ask you before we get into the home stretch here, I do like the cinematic elements that you guys bring in, and I know that's kind of a big part of the sound. It's like a very big, massive sound, and not that like, and like you said, you're no stranger to like synths and keys and those kind of sounds, and there is a lot more prevalence, I think, in modern metal and all of that for that. But I think you guys do. And again, this isn't about the check that you may or may not have sent me. I do enjoy the cinematic elements, man. Like I've always been a big fan of movie scores. Like I could name some of my favorites, like The Fugitive being one of them, one of my all-time. I love
Yeah.
this. I love The Goonies, also one of my favorite movies, but also really love the score. Blade Runner, like this
Oh yeah.
rainy weather where I am in the we'll just say the Nashville area where I live because people are psychos and they find out where you live. But we've had rain here where I live in the Nashville area, and rainy weather always reminds me of like Blade Runner, and that's one of my favorite. It's like it's very 80s, but it's also very timeless at the same time, like the synths and the sounds in that, and kind of like the bluesy kind of elements of it. So anyway, I'm ranting, but do you have Arc any kind of favorite cinematic either scores or influences or anything that's going, whether it's from past, present that's going on that influences the Set the Sun sound?
I mean, yeah, um I think both Eris and I are big soundtrack fans. And scores and soundtracks are huge. They're so huge. They're so important uh, parts. They're super important for film. In film and cinema for music. The reason why I mean the question you were asking was well, sorry, we'll go back to it. It was are there any like particular scores or was that the question? I totally was going
No, I
sidetracked.
do I rant, man. I've gotten better at being concise actually, but yeah, I
Really
guess
good.
to simplify my rant when I was geeking out about like cinematics and what you guys do in your music. Are there any that are some of your personal favorites, Arc? And then are there any that either not that you bite from for Set the Sun, but that are an influence where you're like, yes, I really dig that sound, and if I can kind of try to take that and make it my own, I'm gonna Set the Sun.
Yeah, I know, and yeah, that you know what you did ask it that way, and it's my bad. I probably just went a different direction with the answer, but yes. So for me, I would say Hans Zimmer is one of my favorites. I think it's hard for me to think of a film that he scored that I don't love the soundtrack. Part of my love for that cinematic sound and why I love those films and Hans Zimmer in particular is that when I see and feel music, I kind of in my head at least, it's like a film. It's like it is cinematic. When I'm listening to something beautiful, I want to be able to picture a scene, or picture an epic, flyover of something. And when if you're able to listen to a song and picture that, then I think the song is doing something really, really cool. And I think that's what we're trying to emulate. We're trying to create that, make sure that we can paint this picture that's so big, that's bigger than just listening to it hit your ears. It creates this like a visual for you, if you will. So I think part of it is that, and and then part of it is classical music too. I'm a big classical music person. And I listen to a lot of classical, but I love orchestral music as well. And a lot of the cinematic stuff, and Zimmer will say the same thing, is inspired from classical. So, I mean, because a lot of music is, but like there's this, you know, incredible like this symphonic that the feeling you get from listening to a symphony play, you know together with all the different string sections and horns and everything. It kind of, I think the epic vibe of strings are kind of like what we're trying to bring in through the sub synth, bass synth, or the really fuzzy like distorted synths. Like I kind of picture those as actually like low horn sections, or like low horns or low strings or cellos, and like run through, and you can do a lot of crazy effects too if you're going to, speaking on the production side of things, and like in the studio side, like running classical instruments through different various effects, and Zimmer does that for his films sometimes too. um it's part of, it's part of what inspires us a little bit, to take that approach. But yeah, big Hans Zimmer fan. Love the cinematic thing. I think that will always be a part of our sound. It's because it inspires us, and so we want to keep it as part of that. And it just makes things sound. I mean, for us, adds a depth. Adds more depth to the music. It adds more like extra dimensions that maybe weren't there. That if you have just like the traditional guitars and vocals and stuff. But uh, even one synth. Some bands will add one synth part to a song and be like, yeah, this is electronic metal or electronic rock, and we're like, yeah, but what if you added like 50 cents, 50 cents? And that's kind of the Set the Sun approach. Like if you listen to our record at War, you'll know what I'm talking about. Listen to Arrival. That one's got quite a few layers going on, and we're not mad about it. So that's you know, expect more of that in the future, and definitely heavier, lower tune guitars. That's kind of, we've also delved deep into the very low tunings for this new record, so a lot of fans will be happy about that.
Hell yeah, for baritone. Well, Arc, I appreciate the time. I know you're recovering, and I feel like every time I talk to you, I end up keeping you longer than I say I'm going to, and I don't want to be a jerk about your time. So I'll get you out of here on this. Thanks again so much for the time, dude. Everybody go check out Falling Apart, and I know myself and the other Set the Sun fans that are going to listen to this are going to be really excited to see what's on deck and the future collaborations. But with the theme of the show being perseverance and moving forward, man. Obviously, like, you guys are making killer music, and you've collaborated with some really awesome people. Any advice out there for anybody, whether they're a musician or not, since we're kind of in the beginning of the year, not to turn you into like Barbara Walters or anything, but just in terms of like, somebody that's like that's a really cool thing. Like like again, bringing it back to the beginning of this, like we geeked out, we have a shared love for Sevendust, and I could do a whole podcast just based around Sevendust because they're like one of my favorite bands ever. And I remember I had to kind of pinch myself at times not to name drop when shout out to Kevin, their PR guy, when he linked me up with Clint and I got to like talk to Clint. And I had met him in person briefly and I tried not to be a fanboy and I kind of was. Um, but he's such like a down to earth good dude. And then I think about like in your position as a musician to actually be able to collaborate with Ryan Clark, to be able to collaborate with Clint Lowery. um I'm sure you pinched yourself at those moments too, like thinking back to when you're a kid and you're jamming out to like Home or Animosity. Like what advice would you give to somebody out there who maybe is a little too self-deprecating or they're a little too hard on themselves when it comes to their dreams and they think they're too big, as somebody who's been able to chase them and check off those boxes with really awesome people like you have?
I'd say a couple things. I would say um don't listen to outside voices. Listen to your gut, listen to your instinct, and and without it being cliche, manifest it. Basically be like, make the plan as if it's going to happen. So write it down. Like today, I'm going to reach out to so and so I can talk about this deal, so I can work with this artist. That's essentially all I did. And um, if you create self-doubt, or if you create insecurities, or if you have them and you let them take over, you won't accomplish anything and you won't do anything because it'll stop you. We stop ourselves all the time. We tell ourselves no, or we listen to a negative, a stream of thought from somebody else that we trust that's telling us no, you know and sometimes those people are actually jealous of you and they don't want you to succeed, but you're like, well, but they're my friend, why would they want that? Why wouldn't You don't know, like there's only so much, but what you do know is what you believe. So you got to trust your gut, try to manifest it, write it down, and then just do it and see what happens. There's nothing else you can do. And then also the other thing is, don't do it for the wrong reasons. Don't do it for the paycheck. I always tell people that. Don't be like, well, this will make me famous, or this will, fame equals whatever fame equals to you, right? Because like fame is different for all of us. Um, it should never be about the end goal. It should be about the desire and the feel, like what desire you have deep down to do it. And that's usually really about the art you're trying to make itself. And I think that you focus on that, only good things will happen.
Awesome. I can't think of a better place to leave it, dude. Well, thank you again so much, Arc, for taking the time, especially being a little under the weather. I felt bad when you started coughing. I'm like, oh God, I did it again. I kept it too long, but I really appreciate the time, dude. Everybody go jam Falling Apart. Go check out the back catalog At War. Go check out the In Absentia Volume 1 and the different reimaginations of the songs. And I'll put up the links in the podcast description. But go enjoy the rest of your day. Get well soon. And thanks again for the time as always, dude.
Thank you, my brother. We hope you have a great one.
Alrighty, dighty, there you have it. That was my conversation with Arc from Set the Sun. Make sure you go follow these guys on Instagram at Set the Sun Band. The links to all of their stuff will be in the podcast description for this episode. So y'all know what to do. Scroll down to the bottom of that podcast description, hit those links, and go follow and support Set the Sun. You will not be disappointed if you love modern rock, if you love alternative rock, if you love metal, if you love great vocals, emotional lyrics, cinematic elements. They do it all. Once again, their latest single, Falling Apart with Demon Hunter, is out now, available wherever you get your music. Go run up the numbers on the streaming platforms and also go watch that music video, man, on YouTube. It is a beautiful, beautiful music video, incredibly well done and really really emulates the lyrical content of the song very, very well, man. So shout out to Set the Sun, shout out to Arc, shout out to Ryan Clark and the boys of Demon Hunter. Make sure you go listen to them as well, and go back and listen to the back catalog of Set the Sun too, man. Once again, their full length debut album At War just came out in November 2023. Go back and listen to that, listen to the reimagined versions of the songs. These guys put a lot of effort, as you just heard with Arc and myself, into their music, and the emotional elements of it, the cinematic elements of it. Like when you put the headphones on or you put those earbuds in, man, it really takes you somewhere else. And I think that's what's really beautiful about their music, in addition to the fact that they're just great guys. So I just want to say to Arc, thank you so much for taking the time to come back on the podcast, man, especially when you were a little under the weather. Every time you coughed a little bit, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm chewing his ear off. I got to wrap it up, wrap it up. But thank you so much. I really appreciate the kind words that you had for me, even before and after the interview, about the podcast and chasing your dreams, in addition to everything that you spoke about on the mic with the band and chasing your dreams with the listeners and myself, dude. So thank you so much. I always appreciate the time, and I'm a big fan of what y'all are doing, and I can't wait to see what else is in store with the new music as 2025 unfolds, brother. So I appreciate it, and I appreciate all of you. Excuse me, little coffee burp. Excuse me. I'm verklempt. Shout out if you know that reference. I'm gonna leave that part in. You ever get those? Like I swear every time I do this, and you guys may or may not know this, but I often re-record these intros. I'm trying to get better at my perfectionist nature. And then I'm like, dude, this is supposed to be fun. It doesn't have to be perfect, but every now and again I'll leave in a little like coffee burp. So I left that in. But verklempt, shout out Mike Myers. But yeah, everybody go follow. I'm such a weirdo. Everybody go follow Set the Sun on Instagram at Set the Sun Band. And once again, the links are in the podcast description for this episode. And thanks again to everybody who listens to the show. I mean it. If this is your first time, welcome aboard the pirate ship. If this is Arc that brought you here, Set the Sun that brought you here, I'm happy to have you on board. And if you would be so kind, if you enjoyed what you heard, if you take the time to like and subscribe to the show, you'll get all the back catalog. You will not miss any future episodes. They drop on Tuesdays 3 times a month. And you'll be able to check out all those other conversations, man, including the first one with Set the Sun. And again, this show's about perseverance, moving forward, chasing your dreams. So as we approach the end of Q1, for those of you in the financial sector, I hope that all of you are inspired and chasing your dreams. And if you're in a dark place right now, just know that it gets better. Stay strong. Talk to people close to you who you trust with your life. There's a lot of people who love you and care about you, and you have a purpose. So just stay tough and fight through the darkness, because the light is coming. And I know from experience, with my journey over the past few years getting back into this podcast, my life has really mirrored the meaning of this show, perseverance and moving forward, with some of the ups and downs that I've gone through over the course of the last 5 years, like all of us have, really, with COVID. But just even, stuff outside of the show in my personal life, like it's been a journey, you guys. It's been a real journey. But along that path and through that darkness, I have met people like Arc. I have met so many wonderful people doing this show. And it really is just a reminder for me to keep going. So if you're in a dark spot right now, keep your head up, keep going, know how much you're loved, and know that you are worthy and you are worth it, and you are capable of chasing your dreams and accomplishing things beyond your imagination. And I am living proof of it, man. This show has brought me a lot of joy, and I hope it brings you guys a lot of joy as well when you hear these episodes. So if you're new to the show, thank you so much. I'm going to wrap it up now, because I feel like I have a tendency to rant, and the caffeine is working. But truly, man, I love you all. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Keep the faith and be kind to one another, and be kind to yourselves. Courtesy of Arc from Set the Sun. Here is their latest single with Demon Hunter called Falling Apart. Peace.